Welcome, everyone. This is Pilot Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at lasers and LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And tonight I am joined with Sanswinda.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Good to be back. No illnesses, internet up, and
Yeah,
ready to go.
it's pretty nice. Can't even describe how much I take good internet for granted these days until suddenly I don't have it.
Yes, I remember that in January.
Yeah, it's a real pain when suddenly you're like, but this should only take like 20 seconds to download, and it's saying like 2 hours, 4 hours.
Ouch!
Yeah,
Ouch. Right.
might be a slight exaggeration, but not by much.
Mm, yeah, I sometimes wonder whether or not being seeing how that I remember back when I was on DSL and everybody else was on super fast internet services, and that's like how slow everything was. Just uploading anything. And whenever I uploaded a video, I had to essentially put it up just before going to sleep, and it'll be finished loading when I got up in the morning.
That's
But
kind of what it's felt like.
yeah, let's head into our news for this week, where we had the first build for Boer for update 38, the Corsairs of Umbar. So we're able to have our first peek into the area. And this week's build was mainly focused on the land areas. Thus, we had King's Gondor West, Outer Gondor, and the Shield Isles. Those three areas were ready. King's Gondor West are the areas that we explored way back when we first entered in Gondor, the areas that are west of Linhir. So we had all of those ones, just Doranamel, Ringlow Vale, Lamadon, and Blackroot Vale, and Belfalis. And they will be continuing on with the reputation for the renewal of Gondor. It's most likely you didn't reach kindred with the renewal of Gondor. We'll have an opportunity to do that in this new region. And on top of that, they added Outer Gondor, which is Anfalis and Penithgalen. So that will continue on the Gondor region. So we'll do those areas. So those are the lower level areas for the expansion. Then after you finish with those areas, then we have the Shield Isles, which was also available in there. And there you'll be switching over from the renewal of Gondor as your reputation area to the citizens of Umbar of Baharbel. So that means, yes, you'll be helping people of Umbar, and probably so that maybe you could convince them not to attack Gondor.
I mean, that might be a good reason to help them.
Yes. Now we also had a preview of the city of Umbar that was available to have a look at, but they didn't have any quests or anything like that up there. But seeing that I was just going on tour anyway, and I wasn't actually doing the quest because I prefer to wait until the actual release before doing too many quests, since I didn't want too many spoilers anyway. So I went up to the Sea of Umbar and had a look around in there.
What
And
did
I
you
could
see?
say a splash of color. That's what I saw. I can't think that there is a city anywhere near as colorful as that city.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah, yes, very colorful, very, I guess, tropical in its feel, of course. So very different in its feel from the rest of the areas that we've had. In the Shield Isles, you start to have this feeling of tropical, and then you're full tropical by the time you get up into the city of Umbar.
Nice.
Yes. So we have it in there, and so I went around looking in there. Now I had to be careful. I didn't go out of the city because when you go out of the city, you get into the mobs in the area. Now we're talking about the higher level areas. So out, so outside the city, the mobs are around 148 in that region. So they're all purple to me. In fact, they're also a bit purplish on the shield isles also because the lower level areas, as I said before, were King's Gondor West and Outer Gondor. So we had our first look at it. So the land is all there, and the land looks all nice. And they did make a note that your journey will begins in the town of Lynn here in King's Gondor is where your story begins. And they made the usual note that the epic story for this area, The Song of Waves and Wind, is not available for preview because, as usual, they want to avoid spoilers on the matter. Though I do have a feeling that in the Songs of Waves and Winds that we're going to have an opportunity to command a ship. Now
That would
I
be
don't know if
cool.
yeah, I don't know if that's everyone or if that's just the mariners because Galadriel's forecast and viewing in the mirror for mariners involves you're in command of a ship, and by her description of it, I think it's when you find out what they mean by the Song of Waves and Wind.
I hope we actually get to control it.
What, the Song of Waves and Wind or the
No, the
ship?
ship. I
I have
hope
a
it's not
feeling.
like we're watching a scene. I hope we actually get to do that.
Well, I have a feeling we can't have too much control over the ship for reasons. So maybe trying to see if we could keep,
You
because
know,
they're not going to have ship to ship combat. So
the difficulty in turning a war steed reminds me of turning a ship. So I think they might have systems in place that would let us control it. Um the question really would be, are they willing to let us have that opportunity even if it's in an instanced area? Because I think it would be pretty awesome if we could.
I am just imagining the engineering effort that would be required to make that happen.
They could give us boat pants. That'd
they
probably be
def-
less engineering.
they already said they did not have time for boat pants
Well, like
because
in
they
one
investigated the
instance,
matter. What?
maybe in one instance, something like it.
Okay, maybe in one instance we'll have to see. I guess we will find out soon. Well, maybe not soon enough when they release it.
Fair.
And just a little note in here, they have already come out and said that they've already realized they will not hit November 1st. The earliest that we could expect it would be November 8th.
Fair.
And that's what they think they'll be getting it. But of course, if anything untoward happens that says, oh no, this is not going to work, then it could get pushed again. So far, the tentative date is November 8th, but they haven't officially announced it. I think because they want to see how next week's build goes before they make the official announcement when it's being pushed back to.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. And of course, they did talk about things like the quests aren't fully done at and the maps aren't quite ready and things like that. So yes, they're just working on things at the moment, but it looks like that we've got the bulk of the landscape already there, and looks like the city of the Corsairs is going to be a very, very beautiful city when we get to it.
Sweet.
All right, crafting. Note that due to some unexpected setbacks, Tier 15 Umbar crafting is not fully implemented and will be opening in a future beta. Now, the reason why I am noting this is because the reason it was not fully implemented in there is that their original plan was to make it so that you could start Tier 15 Umbar crafting without having done Tier 14 and the stuff before it. It turned out that the code relating to crafting tiers was a worse spider web than they had thought, and that it was impossible to separate a tier without doing the previous tiers. So they had to step back and punt on that particular matter. And that's probably what's delaying the crafting on getting into the first build. So we're hoping to have that back in for the next year. But vocations have been removed. That's already was in the build. Those vocations were removed to allow players to train professions individually. But they did note that the fourth profession is not yet implemented. I think that's probably expected to be next year when they'll have time for that, because that's not on the top of their priority list. Legendary items with Corsairs of Umbar, enhancement runes will function slightly differently. Enhancement runes no longer have an eye level limit dictated by their quality. Instead, all enhancement runes will be able to increase the level of a tracery through all levels of that tracery's tier, although still obeying reforged limits. Higher quality enhancement runes will simply give you more than one level of tracery improvement, according to their rarity. Uncommon runes will give 1, rare runes will give 2, incomparable runes will give 3, and legendary runes will give 4. On Borer 1, and this only applies to Umbar tier traceries and runes. So that implies that they're hoping that they'll be able to spread that out through the levels on there. So that means, thank you, because it's always interesting on how many yellow enhancement runes I get after I hit 10 above that tier level and just say, okay, well, these are useless now. Also, main stat changes. The benefits granted to any given class from agility, fate, might, vitality, and will have all been updated to help balance classes and itemization. The primary stat for each class, meaning agility, might, and will, should still provide the most benefit for the class. But the other two stats should still be appealing for some roles available to the class. With the changes to all classes in the utility of agility, might, and will stats, the following items have been adjusted accordingly: leather riding leggings, Dorhal earrings of the Dead City, fateful Gunabad earring, flowing silver stone of the tortoise, and the fleet merchant's earring. So those are, I would assume many of those look like they're items that you get from the gifts and stuff like that, such as the flowing silver stone, I believe, was something from, is that something from Gunabad, or was that something from, I forgot what provided the flowing silver stone. Oh, actually, no, I think that might have been from Before the Shadow, where we had that one at least that's my. Do you remember when we got those?
I don't.
All right.
Let me see.
I mean, obviously the fateful Gunabad earring was the thing. Yeah, earring of the Dead City. Yeah, these are all associated with expansions. It looks like, because those are the statted earrings that gave you a experience buff as you were leveling. So they're tweaking those to go with the main stat changes.
You're
All
right.
right.
It was a Before the Shadow expansion
All right.
from the
For gear,
Ultimate Expedition supplies.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's what where you got one copy to the first person that you logged into afterwards.
Right.
And as of update 38, gear may feature a primary essence slot, a vital essence slot, and a regular essence slot. A primary essence slot can accept main stat essences, allowing you to adapt a piece of gear to provide might, agility, or will as needed to suit your build. If present, it will generally be replacing an existing main stat piece. That means, for example, if let's say you're playing a captain. Now captain gear, heavy armor, that normally gives might. but perhaps your build was one where you needed more will to do what you needed to do. So you could use a main stat essence slot essence in order to change over to will for that particular item. A vital essence slot will accept vitality, fate, morale, or power affecting essences. If present, it will usually be replacing a vitality score on a gear piece. So that means maybe you don't really want vitality, but you would rather have either more morale or fate or even power, I guess. And so you could swap that out instead. And regular essences slots accept all standard gear essences. The frequency number should be similar to current gear. For essence values, the ICP cost per essence slot and the average score value of all essences are being reduced somewhat. This means that more of the raw value of the gear will appear in its inherent stats and somewhat less on the essences. And critical ratings. The critical ratings of gear traits effects have been increased. The cap of critical rating is increased. Critical magnitude, though, is reduced. So I think that means that you'll be critting more often, but the crits are going to be doing less damage. This
That's
has
what it
the
sounds like.
in fact, here's a next sentence. This has the effect of making it a little bit more difficult to achieve the critical chance cap, but will increase players' dev crit and crit magnitude rates and make capping those easier if you choose to pursue that goal. And armor values, base armor values on gear at level 150 band will be somewhat lower than prior pieces, as heavy armor characters in particular could quickly cap physical mitigation even at modest gearing levels. Shields have been dinged more than the rest of the gear as they had particularly high values, though shield tanks should be able to ultimately cap their physical mitigation values on armor alone. It will be a significant higher average eye level. All right, now classes. Player melee ranges have been normalized. This means that most damaging melee skills should now have the same range across classes, though there are some exceptions, of course, as usual. In light of this change, many persistent harmful ground effects throughout the game have been reduced in size. In general, targeted melee skills should now have a max range of 4 meters. Area of effect melee skills should have a max range of 5 meters. Bjornings now gain 1 meter of extra melee range in bear form, down from 2. Brawler's melee range tracery has been changed and now increases aggressive posture's damage bonus. Some area effect skills have had their base number of targets increased. With Brawler, battle flow description fixed to show the correct bonus. Alright. Captains, while specialized in leader and man, most damaging captain skills will now generate additional threat. An impactful blows value has been fixed. Champions, while specialized in martial champion, most damaging champion skills will now generate additional threat. And of course, the most changes for any specific class are for the Mariner, since there's a new one. It no longer moves your player character. Ultimately, the movement was simply not smooth enough on the live servers. Increase the potency of traits, which impact the healing potential. Increase the potency of the critical defense debuff from Northwind. When traded in the rover line enough to access explosive lunge, the cooldown of lunge has been corrected so that it only increases to a minute when used directly after debilitating strike. And Salt Sea Blade no longer erroneously benefits from bonuses to advanced damage. For Runekeepers, Concussion and Rebuttal is now a combat-only skill. As for combat and monsters, generic monster range attacks now have no minimum distance from the player at which they are allowed to execute. Finesse now modifies partial BPE damage reduction. And fixed for monster power scaling, low-level monsters were running out of power too quickly. For crafting, hard biscuits and superior hard biscuits now correctly share the same out of combat morale regeneration rate. Trout and other fish used as crafting ingredients can now be put into crafting carryalls. Oh, okay. Crit crafted heal potions had heal values similar to non crit. These have been improved. Crafted mariner instruments and their recipes have been added to appropriate recipe scroll cases and vendors throughout the game. Yes, because we definitely need those because currently there are no crafted mariner instruments in the game, and that's a bit of a pain since I'm playing a mariner right now. You could just imagine. Oh, my instrument is level. Oh, that's right. My instrument that I'm using it was from my pages, so that would have been about somewhere between the 39 to 45-ish range in which you get those things. So yeah, so a level 45 musical instrument is what I'm using at 140. So it's nice that we'll be able to get some instruments. Okay, and also, what else have we got? Oh, and questies and adventure areas. The turn for the quest of Stars and Blossoms now has the correct quest guide and map rings. Physics has been improved from chests for slot lower 3-man instances. Players will no longer be displaced by chests showing up. The slot lower 3-man boss Takaoka will no longer sit idly by while you attack his keeper. And Kolnadak's appearance has been fixed so that she looks correct. Applying salve to scarred trees during the quest, the ravages of the Tower Grim now says applying instead of examining. Fix a typo in the skirmish Siege of Gondoman. I'm trying to think, what typo was there in Siege of Gondoman? I guess I'll never know now. I guess I could look at
I
it on
think
live
you
and see if I can figure it.
could, because it should still be in the live one,
You're
unless it
right,
was
right.
one
Still
that
in the
they
live. Yeah, yeah.
like made in the
So
beta and then fixed in the beta before it went live. But
in which case they wouldn't have.
they shouldn't have noted it in the notes if that's what happened. So you
Right.
should definitely run it and see if you spot it.
Okay. Floating crates and NPCs in the quest marked for export have been grounded. And during the quest delivery to Mergroth Nortuk, Rosalinda will no longer tell you that the basket is on a table next to her. I would presume then that the table next to her didn't hold a basket or anything like that. Physics has been removed from the Orcish weapon caches in Tharvad. The location for Sturkist has been corrected where the turn in the quest is scattered in the forest. Kolnadak and Dengasi are no longer wearing the same outfits and looking similar. The map guide to the quest Release the Hounds has been fixed. Patrols for healers from the House of Healing during the wedding season have been fixed. A quest objective for the quest Fortifying Krithos has been moved out from underneath the rock for better access.
That
Good.
should be helpful.
Losi in Anakafu's VO has been changed to reflect his Iron Hills background. And the poisoned dwarves in Azanubizar have been given proper lines to express thanks for the antidote.
Excellent.
Do you remember what their lines were?
I don't remember.
I mean, well, they were trying. It was probably doing one of those bothering me type ones instead of thank you
That
ones.
is exactly what I'm imagining. Except,
Yes,
like, the only things in my mind right now are Hobbit ones.
yes. Fix the T posing irritated Jelruka dwarf. Physics has been removed from numerous grub and mushroom quest objectives in Monogard. Uthilad will now say one less than the thes he was theing before.
Excellent.
And increase player damage and ally health slightly in the session play, remembering Thrym.
That should be nice, yes.
If I remember, yeah, remembering Thrym did have some problems in that regard. In instances and skirmishes, the featured instance rotation has been updated to include in Glinkhunt, Hall of Volendil, Woe of the Willow, Agaroth, the Narradelve, Stoneheight, and Ost Dunholt, the Gorthron Ring. As permissions and Delvings fixed a typo in the Joruka clan, and fixed the weekly quests that have been updated to go to level 150, of course, for obvious reasons. And housing and decorations, adding Angmar and Greenhouse decorative walls to Angmar Reborn Barter Vendor. And items and rewards, the level 50 class armor sets available from class trainers in Last Holy House for marks are now bound to account rather than bind on equipped. So that means if you have an alt that's the same class as one of your early ones, I guess you could save it for them. Stats on many Wayfarers and Traveler's Gear items were adjusted to align with current standards. Adventure Gear level 141 and higher has also new statting. And as for Landscape, they had miscellaneous physics and floating object fixes, of course. And miscellaneous is character reputations are now sorted alphabetically in the reputation panel. And right after this, it says, due to player feedback, a request has been made to reconsider this change. Yeah, a lot of people complained when they heard that.
It would be kind of nice though if there was an option to like order them in a way that makes sense to you.
Yes, that is something that a couple of people did suggest in the thread. Because right now, I'm not exactly sure what the order is that they're shown in.
I'm not sure either because it doesn't appear to be when I started earning the reputation.
Right.
And it's not alphabetical.
I mean, one person suggested that it should be in order of the base level for starting to earn the reputation. There are disadvantages of that one. I'm thinking that maybe be in the order of the most recently earned rep in that one. It sounds like one they could try. Because that could be useful, for example, is if I am running Trouble in Tuckbro, even though I'm very, very high level, then I can at least see the Matham. Actually, I guess some people will want to see it, and some people will say, no, I don't want to see that. I don't care.
Right? So I think we should be able to choose if we want to see that because that would be a cool choice to
Yeah,
have.
right. Adds a higher quality DX10 dynamic shadow setting. The current very high will be renamed to high, and the new very high option will replace it with the following improvements. Increases distance and shadows are rendered to bridges and gaps between the dynamic shadows and far few baked shadow maps. Adds terrain to the Shadowcaster's list and increases shadow map resolution to reduce pixelization. And also, trait tones now offer a smoother progression of bonuses from level to level. Whee! And those are the first round of Bulwer release notes. I'm sure there will be more in the future. I am hoping that there will be another Bulwer next week where we could have a look at maybe take care of some of the things, some of these known issues that they have in there so that we could have the city of Umbar a little bit more full than it is currently. And the quest givers will start arriving and unpacking and all. And maybe they'll have crafting finally working in the form that they want to do for release. We'll have to see. And that's it for Borer. We also had this week a chat with Sev on Chord's usual Friday afternoon stream, and we have links to both the YouTube version of the whole thing, where it's an hour-long video where you'll hear all the questions and answers and everything going through there. But Weird Jedi yesterday posted a the Reader's Digest version of this. If you just wanted to take a look at what was said in there, though of course it seems to be missing a little context in there since it would be a very very long transcript if he included everything. For example, apparently somebody must have asked why they didn't call the Mariner Corsair instead, and well, would you play a character class called Corsair?
I would if it was in the monster player character set.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that would be more
Which could
appropriate
be
for the
pretty
mon.
fun.
Yes.
I'm not sure it would fit the monster player scenario though. Because if
Well,
we did
they
that,
would.
we might as well have Dour Hand Dwarves as an option or something. And they've
Yeah,
decided not to do that, so
yeah. If they don't have Dower Hands there, I can't see Corsairs being, especially considering that Corsairs would only really maybe be appropriate in the Osgiliath one, and I don't think too many people play Osgiliath in the Moor. Well, we're still calling it the Moors. That's just how many people are probably playing Osgiliath.
I thought they closed Osgiliath at least for a while.
Oh, they did. See, that shows you how out of the loop I am on PvP.
I might be wrong though, or it might have just been for a bull roar thing.
All right.
I haven't been in for a while on Monster Play anyway.
Yeah, as I think that's true with most people. It sounds like what PvP is going on in the Moors instead. So maybe they could have a
Ooh, the
like
Corsairs
the
could be in charge of the sofa pits. They could have really colorful sofas. It would be funny.
Yeah, it was. Yes, the Corsairs. If anything, they're definitely colorful. People are also asking about class balance, and basically they're saying that if you want to be heard on questions about class balance, it's probably best to wait until after the expansion, because right now they are focused on the expansion. They're not going to worry about class balance probably until the beginning of the new year, since they're concentrating on that and they want to get people settled in on what we've got now, especially in relation to the 10 new levels that are coming in. Of course, the Mariners being introduced into the mix. They are still working on 64-bit, and they're hoping to have a 64-bit test server soon. Maybe before the end of the year, but don't place any bets on that. And they are considering a legendary server next year, but I don't think they've made quite the exact final plans on exactly what type it is or anything like that. And let's see, anything else here? Then they were talking about the whole thing with the parrot on the shoulder, on why they implemented it the way it did. Because some people, for example, were complaining about the whole thing with the parrot on the shoulder being on a piece of equipment that apparently they could not get it to work as a cosmetic item.
I
Well,
actually have a theory about this, Pine Leaf.
yeah.
So at first I was like, all my other shoulder pieces fit in my wardrobe. And then I was like, sticking a parrot in my wardrobe would probably be a bad idea. Can you imagine how messy all of my clothes would be? Like, I would get a new character and I'd put on this outfit and I'd have to like explain to everybody, oh yeah, the parrot must have got to this again. I really
See?
think I really think it's an animal rights issue, and that's why we can't have cosmetic shoulder parrots. Is because they know they would end up in a wardrobe somewhere, and that would just be a disaster.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, some people said, well, why couldn't you have made it have scaling stats? And they says, well, because people will complain about being forced to have a parrot on their shoulder when they're using the. Anyways, no matter what they did, someone's going to complain. Now, some people were asking about skirmishes and having a look at them, and what Severland is hoping that they could do is if they could find a way to scale players to content instead of the other way around on something. So they're trying to see if they want to look into that. It would be nice if they could manage to do that. It's just that I know the last time they tried that, it didn't work out very well. Remember Epic Battles?
Yeah, it resulted in some epic deaths and like chase scenes though, as we attempted to epic battle at level 10.
Oh, yes, that's the joy of. And they are looking into DX12 because they would have to eventually get that into there. But right now, the biggest problem that they've got is that DX9 is causing all sorts of troubles, and they're hoping to get DX9 out before getting up to DX12 because DX9 is this thing that's a very very annoying thing because sometimes you get these annoying messages installing DX9 and all that stuff, and that's all because DX9 is rooted into some old stuff. You it's the adding perks like accumulating rewards through VIP is something that's on their radar, but they're currently working on a VIP revamp on DDO, and they want to see how things work on the DDO side, and then see if some of those items could work on there, and decide if any of that would be appropriate for LOTRO or not. And of course, as usual, they are hoping to add new instruments eventually. But first, let's get the Mariner instruments working. Or actually, yes. All right. And someone suggested that we have a carry-all management system where we try to have a single interface for all our carry-alls. And pretty much, Severland said, no, that'll be too painful to implement. So don't hold your breath on that one. And that seems to be about, and that seems it for the moment on there. As I said, for full details, you can either read the Reader's Digest transcript or listen to the video. And we have links to those in our show notes. Ah. And of course, I think this is an absolute not surprise to anyone because we discussed last week that some people were exploiting the Forrester event. So, yes, the Forrester event was shut down again.
You know, if one didn't know better, one might almost suspect ints or the trees themselves to be
Oh, to try to
breathing a sigh
sabotage?
of relief at this point.
Oh, breathing a sigh of relief. Yes.
Yes, maybe seeking safer ground.
Well, I think the ones who are really sighing a release are the ones who are unable to seek safer grounds. The
Okay,
sessile trees
fair.
are really the ones that have a lot to worry about.
That is true.
So yes, so they're going to try to work on it again so as to plug all of these exploits. So when they update that, maybe they'll make another try. But it seems like that whenever there is a competitive event like this, well, actually, even in non-competitive events, people try to find ways to exploit stuff. I remember the grand stairs in Moria, where it became an instance which I pretty much eventually just decided I would not do that with an unfamiliar group because any pug I tried it in says, "Oh, let's try exploiting this section." Yeah. All right. That is it for our news this week. So let's go to our store sales. Sans, what's on sale this week?
Well, this week the store sales will help you go ever on and on with 20% off select XP boosts, enhanced XP supply, and 100% mark acquisition boosts through October 26th. You can also get a free weekly coupon code for a free Max Morale and Power Scroll, for 5 free Max Morale and Power Scrolls, with the coupon code MAXMP, which is also active through October 26th and is in all caps.
Whee! All right, thank you. So then let's go and find out what we did this week in gaming and what were you up to?
Okay, so Gwerndas and I took a couple of our characters to observe Durin's Day.
Right?
And on our way, we stopped by the Erebor housing and we discovered some of the dangers of goat droppings. I don't know if you realize this, but this is our only real explanation for the quantity and quality of the grass growing through the paving stones in the garden area. Um, it was incredible. I think somebody forgot to pick up after their goats. It probably the only real explanation for that. But it was pretty awesome. It was almost as tall as our dwarves and definitely covered them if we laid down. And then we made it out of the Erebor housing area and into the world and definitely avoided some murderous moose, which was fun. And the view from up there is phenomenal. And I really think we should be able to make hang gliders out of all the leather we collect so that we can enjoy the view longer from different angles. It would be
hang,
fun.
hang gliders.
Why not? Or parachutes? I don't know. I have
Well,
enough leather. I'm sure I could invent wings, even if it ended horribly for me.
I remember the Hobbit in Lintriv who was
See?
thinking of inventing a hang glider, and he eventually decided, maybe not.
See, it's lore appropriate enough that we could try it, even if it would, like, give out halfway through the flight or something on us. It would be fun. Um,
You just hope that you.
Warsteeds do not make good hang gliders, though. Just for the record, I tried it. Um, I really think I should get, like, a title for that, but, Warsteeds
What,
don't make.
Pegasus?
I, Pegasus would be nice too. Not as lore friendly as a hang glider, though.
Okay.
Um, and then we took some mariners to the Harvest Festival, and I took my new River Hobbit Mariner and discovered my first travel skill and promptly used it and rode around opening some stable routes and have been really enjoying the cosmetics and bountiful early trait points every time I'm leveling up. It's pretty fun. Um, and the skills have been fun too. Though I've already filled like a whole bar, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to sort them.
Oh boy.
And she's only like level 8, so yeah. Um, and then when I did not have good internet, I played Going Medieval and made a nice settlement. Well, pretty nice settlement. It's still a little bit rough. And tamed some wolves for the first time, which was pretty cool. Usually they just end up attacking my characters and not being tamed. Um, and all the settlers, though, are still complaining about having ugly clothes. So,
About having ugly clothes.
yeah, like they get a debuff, a mood debuff for having ugly clothes. And I haven't figured out how to make their clothes better. Like, making the clothes higher quality isn't apparently what makes them ugly or not ugly.
Well,
So, I'm
have
gonna
you
have to
have you found dyes yet?
see if I can find some dyes. No, I haven't, and I haven't found anything that says dyes in like the research line either. So
Oh,
I'm hoping that somewhere there are dyes, because the herbs say they can be made into dyes. I just haven't figured out how to do it. So we'll see. Um, but yeah, it's been interesting. How was your week, Pine Leaf?
and I'll begin with my Mariner, where I managed to get into the high 60s. That's right. I got around level 68. And at that point, I had earned all of the Mariner skills and I was feeling comfortable with the Mariner. So I finally took out this little thing that came in with my ultimate pack. And suddenly was level 140.
Nice.
Yes. Yes.
Was it a
So
good pack?
was it a good pack?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a good pack.
good.
And so I made so I now have a nice weapon that I'm going to be that I'll be able to use along the way. And I'd say that the one thing that I might take exception to is that the pack did not include a musical instrument.
Ooh,
I mean,
ouch.
I would just loved it if they had a Mariner flute that was higher than level 50.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah, so I think that would have been nice as if it included a flute in there so that I would been able to get that up. But no, because right now, as far as I know, the only high level flute that exists in the game drops in tier two and higher of the sewers thing, where you fight all those rats. Is Sergreth or I always forget how this Sergroth or whatever the name of that place is
Hmm.
in Angmar, the six-player instance in Angmar,
Is the
and
highest flute?
that's the only high level, well, the only high level Mariner instrument that's in the game
Okay.
that I know of right now. It drops from there.
And it's because I know I can make better flutes than that,
Yeah, but you'll be
but they're probably
making
for minstrels
they're
or a
minstrels.
regular, uh, just to play.
Right. So they'll be giving bonuses to will instead of to things like agility and the like, or they'll be talking about minstrel skills instead of talking about mariner skills. But anyway, my mariner did join Friday Night Fights, and we ran a couple of skirmishes. Let's see, we ran Attack at Dawn. We also ran Bells of Dale, and we went through that pretty cleanly. And then we thought it came to my turn, and I thought, hey, maybe I could see whether or not this group could do the sewers. Yeah. And then because I figured that if he can do it, then maybe someday we could do tier two, and then tier two that maybe we'll be lucky and a musical instrument will drop in there so that I could have a good musical instrument. Well, that entire the results of that run pretty much said maybe you could just wait for the expansion to come out and for the crafted ones to be ready. Yeah,
Oops.
yeah, we got to the boss, and the boss at tier one, mind you, tore us the pieces.
Ouch.
Now I have completed that instance successfully in the past, but apparently if you've got only five, we only had five, so we were tearing through everything else. I thought, oh, we got through Bells of Dale fine. How hard could this fight be? And then the rat went and showed us how hard it can be.
Ouch. You
Yeah.
had the
So
perfect
that
number for skirmishing, though, I hear.
well, so we managed to do it. So we then finished off with one more skirmish after that. so that we will be able to say finish off with a winner or something. I guess it's the best way to say on that.
Makes sense.
Yes. And then as I said before, I made my first peek into the new zones and that are planned in the next update on Bulwer on there, and took a little tour of the city. And that city in Umbar is huge.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is not a tiny little town like Bree or anything like that. We're talking a huge city, and it's not done in layers in a similar style to Minas Tirith. So I have a feeling it's going to be very, very easy to get yourself lost in this place because it has all these sections in the city and the like.
Just
Maybe,
thinking.
yeah, maybe once they have the maps online, because the thing's going to have its own map in there. So maybe once the maps are there, it'll be easier to navigate through the city. But that was the biggest challenge in there is going through everything. I'm not even too sure I hit all the locations in there. And the city has at least 3 exits, I think. And that's not counting the harbor.
So what I'm
And
hearing is they
yeah.
need some like guides so that if you come in wearing your easily lost title, you can pay them like a gold to take you to a specific location.
could you imagine having stable masters going all throughout the city?
You know, I could.
That's right. That's what they do in Minas Tirith, I guess.
It is, and like they could even have like a special type of mount if they wanted. Like somebody runs in front of you saying this way," or something.
Uh yes. Or whatever is the equivalent of that in the local language.
Right, or like it could be like a broken attempt, like they've learned just enough to say like this way, but not say anything else.
That's the only word that they know.
Right? Or like follow, follow.
Ah,
I mean, that could get annoying if they repeated it too often, but it would be kind of funny.
right. If you'd like to contact us, you can send an email to podcast@loachplayers.com. The Players Alliance has 2 shows on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We record Loach Players News and we record DDO Players News when Drac is available. You guys join us for our shows at loachplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight. And this is Pop Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.